Hello friends! Today we are going to be introducing you to all the books we have read so far in high school. We're actually not done with high school yet. We're going into our senior year and we're really excited because we're both taking AP Literature, so we're going to be reading lots and lots and lots of books.
So this is freshman year.
Lots of
books. We each have to hold up multiple books.
First book we read was actually Ishmael. It's actually about a talking gorilla who is trying to help this one person who's actually an everyman, like that's what he represents, into helping the world. I didn't honestly understand it until like halfway through the book, but once I did, I was like, this is so great, and the writing's pretty good too.
The story really isn't what it's about. It's about what the gorilla is communicating to everyman, which is that humans need to take care of nature and the world they've been given and need to kind of expand their mindset outside of the societal view.
But the main focus is what Ishmael is saying.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually a lot like what Sophie's world is about. Woo! It is also another philosophy book. Here it's actually primarily about the philosophers themselves. The main story is about a young girl named Sophie, and she's visited by this weird guy.
A dog?
I think so, yeah.
That made the story better.
As she read on philosophers, she kind of became more self-aware, and she actually realized she was in a book. And she tried to get out of it, so breaking down the fourth wall there. I just loved learning about the various philosophers, and when they spoke about looking at the world in a different way, I just was like, wow, that's so interesting. And then there was someone else who would conflict with their views, and it was really cool.
There's this one philosopher that stuck with me. Your perception of the world is different from someone else's. An example that he gave was what you think is the color pink might be someone else's perception of the color green. So our summer reading between 8th and 9th grade was The Princess Bride by William Goldman. I had read this before, I think in 7th grade. I had grown up watching the movie The Princess Bride, and then I didn't even know it was a book. So when I found out, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to read this. For some reason, I did like the movie more, and that rarely happens.
It seems like an abridged version when it actually isn't. I think the abridgment was that effective, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to screw with your mind, honestly.
But my sister dressed up as Wesley for Halloween one year, which was really cute.
I love Wesley.
The characters are adorable. So the next book is our first Shakespeare, Macbeth. Woo! It's the first Shakespeare I've ever read, actually. Piper's read a bunch.
I think I started reading Shakespeare in like 4th grade. I love classic books. That was what got me started reading. I read The Scarlet Letter in like the summer of 5th grade.
What you need to know about Shakespeare in tragedies is
everybody dies.
He also has very important motifs. For instance, in Macbeth, the biggest thing is Lady Macbeth washing her hands. That's guilt. She's trying to get off.
Washing her hands evilly.
The cool thing is we acted this out in class. Not only did we act it out, but we also saw a movie representation of it that was Japanese.
1940s.
Wow. Yeah, 1940s. It was black and white, and everyone, instead of talking, they would scream.
So you get used to it, but it was so good. Shakespeare. One of the books we read in the beginning of the year was the Odyssey by Homer. And this is a really nice translation. It was by Robert Fagles. If you ever see something where someone's trying to get home, probably based on the Odyssey, because he's trying to get back to Ithaca.
Inferno, Dante's Inferno, is also written in epic poem format. Basically, the main character, Dante, in real life, he was exiled from Florence. And he got really upset about those political figures doing what they wanted to.
It was really sad.
It was. So, because of that, he kind of wrote this book where he goes and descends down of hell with Virgil. And in each of these layers, he sees someone he knows from, the political upheaval that he witnessed.
Like, the middle of hell is like a frozen lake where Satan's head is. It's so sad, but it's so beautiful also, the way he writes it.
Mm-hmm. In this portion, it was where whoever committed suicide would become a tree down in this layer of hell.
The fifth layer of hell.
Anyone walked past them, their thorns would come out, and that's the only way they would be able to speak, whenever, their branches were snapped.
Religion played a large part. In their eyes, suicide was a sin. Mm-hmm. So that's probably why suicide was in such a deep layer in hell. Yeah. I have a brother, and so he's going into high school in a few years, and I wrote some notes in this. I think one of them, I was like, this guy is gay for this guy, and I would just kind of wanted to bug him.
Like a little purple pen. I like that. So the last thing that we read was actually just in class, so we don't have a copy with us.
Yeah.
It was Oedipus Rex.
I've heard the saying Oedipus complex. It's because he married his mom. He, gouged out his eye. Why doesn't Oedipus Rex cuss?
Why not?
Because he kisses his mother with that mouth. That's my favorite joke, guys.
It's really sad. So that was freshman year. Quite a year, right?
On to sophomore. We did read a lot of books sophomore year. We read all of these. This one is The Book Thief. You can see how many notes I wrote on it. It was such a great book. This is one of the only books that I've ever truly sobbed on, just to forewarn you. Liesl Meminger, she used to live with these people, and they're living in Germany during World War II. She, like, steals books because she can read, and she wants to learn to read. So her adoptive father teaches her to read in their basement, and it's such a great story about, like, survival and perseverance.
Other interesting thing about it is that it's written from the point of view of death.
That part got me.
He used a lot of color imagery, so he said
Yeah.
the day was yellow. Starts with first the colors, then
Yeah.
the humans. That's usually how I see things, or at least how I try.
It's such a great jarring way to get your readers to, like, pay attention.
Not only that, he also talked about what was going to happen in each chapter before it happened, and yet it was still a surprise when those things happened.
Surprising.
They just talked about the importance of literature and how moving words can be. It talked about how words were used to persevere through a time like the Holocaust, but they were also used to spur on a lot of hate.